Good evening, everyone. Let me get Nathan up and running here on the scene. There we go. All right, everyone. Welcome to the show. I am Russ Fritz,
And I'm Nathan Johns.
and we invite you to ride along with us, as always, while we're
Switchin
switching grooves.
Grooves.
So,
What's
what's
up,
up?
Russ?
Oh, not a whole lot.
We're getting excited. We're doing our live show in 2 days. Let the countdown begin.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
It's what our second ever in-person live show. Be nice to
Uh,
finally have another one.
well, we actually got a doubleheader this weekend, so
We'll have 3 live shows in the span of us being co-hosts together. It's a new record.
I don't know. Richard and I did quite a bit.
It's the first time that you and I have done 3 of them as a pair. So this is kind of nice. I'm getting super
Hey,
excited for this.
it will be a Switching Grooves record, though, for the most in a week, 3 in a week.
I mean, that's fair. But also we're stepping into uncharted territories. We will be doing it live from a new track, at least to you. We'll be filming live from Lernerville Speedway for the High Limits race. Uh, Time not quite set yet. We'll determine that when we get there. But hopefully we'll have a few people stop
Yep.
by and maybe say hi.
And here's something that you won't believe.
Oh boy.
I, I have already received a phone call from the uh, high limit
Okay.
and from Lernerville Speedway
Oh boy. Are we in trouble?
saying, reminding us that Flow has 100% broadcasting rights. So we are not allowed to broadcast any of the racing, which I already
Well,
knew
yeah,
that.
obviously I knew that. I'm not filming the race, but we could still, do an interview for just the show. I mean, I already knew we weren't filming the race. I knew that wasn't going to happen. I know that, and I respect Flo and Lernerville for that. I'm not going to steal their
Oh yeah,
show.
absolutely. I wouldn't
I'd
do
like
that.
to be able to interview some drivers and ask the questions that they won't normally ask. What is your favorite part about being a high limit sprint car driver? What is your favorite part about driving a 410 car? Questions that people don't normally ask. If you weren't driving a 410 sprint, what would you drive? It's just fun, questions.
Yeah, easy, simple stuff.
Yeah, fun fact about you as a driver. You know, just fun stuff like that. I already know that we weren't going to film the race. I would love to do a live show to, just broadcast, just do a preview of how the excitement is. I mean, this is the first time Lernerville has ever done a 2 day show. So or 2 day show for this race. So I'm super stoked about that. And hopefully maybe we'll get a few drivers to stop by and visit us, come say hi and do an interview or something.
I'm just trying to figure out why
What'd you do?
the logo up in the corner is covering half of your face.
Oh, I didn't even notice it. I can't even see my face on my screen. But
Yeah,
while you're tinkering with that, I'll dip into a little bit of my NASCAR stuff. Uh, Everybody but 2 teams have agreed to the charter deal for NASCAR, and
there
one
it
of them
is.
is a shocker, and one of them I am not at all surprised because why wouldn't they, or why would they sign it? Uh, One of the shockers that have not signed is Front Row Motorsports, uh, the old Michael McDowell team, because next year he won't race for them. Um, but that was kind of a surprise to me. The other one that shouldn't be no shock at all is 2311 because for, lack of better terms, why would they? I mean, they have made everything else a difficult situation. I'm not sure why they would, you know, why they would sign. Although, to be fair, I can understand the arguing of getting a better deal, but Hendrick Motorsports, while in the press conference, stated that, as a veteran team, you can only bargain so much. And, there is a lot of give and a lot of take in negotiating. And they felt like they had reached the best deal for them. So if 2311 is going to get a better deal, then they should also get one, even though they already signed. Honestly, I agree with that mentality that, they followed NASCAR's, ultimatum and abided by the rules.
Yeah, but a lot of teams are saying that they felt threatened and kind of bullied
And
into
and then I
signing
did
this
I did hear some of that, and to be fair,
because
I'm not sure which one I believe more because the whole bullying thing makes me feel like, there's a lot more to this than we know about, which I'm not so sure that it was that case. Um, you know,
well, come on, this time
obviously, obviously NASCAR, they're the ones who own the sport. So,
dude, this time around, NASCAR told them, they weren't there was some kind of disclosure agreement in the
yeah,
bargaining, like they weren't allowed to talk about what was going
they weren't
on,
allowed to badmouth
and
NASCAR more or less, which
they're even
I'm
at,
pretty sure that's been a rule for years.
but they're even at threat of losing their charter, which would be complete bullshit because they paid. I mean, hell, didn't Hamlin and them pay like 40 million for theirs?
I don't think they bought one. I'm pretty sure it was Front Row just bought one.
I'm talking their original ones
Oh, I have
when they
no clue. I
when
don't
they
know
bought
the
when they bought
economy of that.
because they had to buy one for Reddick's car when Kurt Busch
I
was
don't
driving.
remember how much it was. I don't remember.
And
But
then Front Row just had to pay 20 to 25 million to SHR for this last one they bought, and
yeah,
then we don't even know how much uh, RFK paid for theirs, so or if they
yeah.
even bought it.
So yeah, I don't know the math, the economics of that. So I don't remember how much it was, but if I mean,
What's
in
up,
my mind,
Richard?
if you're gonna badmouth NASCAR, that's the price you're willing to pay. Then if you know what happened with Kyle Busch when he badmouthed the COT car, the new COT car.
That was
You know,
10 grand.
yeah. I mean, yes, the cost has gone up a little bit, but I mean, it should be very clear. I mean, didn't Tony Stewart get penalized for bad mouth in NASCAR also? I feel like that happened on multiple
Probably
occasions.
probably a number of times.
Yeah, to an extent this is not a new rule, that you're not allowed to more or less shit talk NASCAR. But, at the same time the stakes are a little higher now. So with great risk comes great penalties. You want to take that chance and think that you're not going to get caught, then yeah, it's probably worth 400 million or 40 million, whatever they're paying. You know, I mean, yes, you need to have a voice, but you also need to, I guess, kind of a filter on it. I guess
Well, from what I understand, this last time around, supposedly,
there really wasn't much bargaining from what I heard.
no, but
It was do
supposedly
this
that
or else.
apparently the teams actually their cut of the TV revenue went up to like 40%, and then NASCAR was going to settle for 10%, but they still want to own. The France family wants to be able to own charters and
Yeah.
uh, field a team, which I don't agree with. What
See, NASCAR own its own team. That's kind of like, I wouldn't say stacking the deck, but it's kind of playing with house money is,
Well, here,
you make the rules, you know, and you make the rules, whatever the rules are, or whatever everybody else has to follow. It doesn't mean you follow them, which is dumb.
well, and here's my opinion about it all. They just want to be able to own the charters. That way, they can control them even more. You
Yeah, and
know,
I don't think that's how
and
that should work.
they can say, "Here you go. Here's the price." They can just name their price, take it or leave it.
Yeah,
And I
but
don't agree with that whatsoever. That's just greed.
yeah, I do agree with there being I do feel it is a little slimy with the way that charter agreement was signed, because there was also reports that teams didn't exactly get a chance to either sign or don't sign. They were either forced to sign or else. I heard that there was a little bit of a late, uh, letting people know thing, which makes very little sense to me because we're pretty sure we all knew of the deadline was coming.
And speaking of fines, now that I sit here and look at it pretty close, being an employee of mine, I should be fining you for not wearing the proper uniform tonight.
I have a better uniform. I have Lernerville's shirt on tonight
I'm
to
I'm only
advertise
messing.
our race tomorrow.
I'm only messing around, just having fun with it.
I'm ecstatic about this race because last year when this race was only one race, it still seemed like an absolute barn burner. It was so good to watch. I mean, I don't know if they're going to open up the infield from like they did last year, but last year from standing down in turn one was the coolest experience ever for me. Getting to watch them come off the corner and just absolutely sail right on around you was just a mind-boggling thing for me. I'm not a big fan of the big, I guess they call it catwalk above pit lane. I'm gonna be really honest. I feel like it's kind of tacky. I mean, maybe Flow can use it for their broadcast, but I haven't seen very many fans use it. But I feel like Flow would have a great time using that as a TV platform. I feel like that would be a great place to have that. I don't know if I like the whole I mean, I don't see very many people use it. Maybe it's just because I'm not paying attention to it. But, you know, they have expanded their viewing possibilities and I do like it. So, I don't know. I'm on the fence about
So
it.
what
I'm just excited.
what do you think about this race at Atlanta this weekend?
I will say that it was a great race as a whole. The caution with Kyle Larson and Chase Briscoe was definitely one of those jump scare moments, and I was kind of caught off guard at how quickly that car snapped sideways. Like it got loose, and I don't know if he reacted so suddenly that it just pointed the car towards the outside wall, but if you blink, you miss the car getting sideways. It looked like he just slammed the car to the right and went headlong into the wall. It was like boom, just like that. It was sideways and then it was in the wall the opposite direction. And then Briscoe coming in and just absolutely crushing him across the rear bumper was definitely, I didn't catch it at first in live. And then when you go back and watch the replays, you see that he absolutely destroyed the back of Kyle's car when he went by. It
Dude,
was
I'm
mostly on
telling
the
you.
front end, and Briscoe just absolutely plastered him. I felt so. This is not the first time Kyle Larson has a massive crash with Stuart Haas Racing. Need I remind you of when Ryan Preece absolutely just railroaded Kyle at Talladega? I have never seen a car break door bars like that, but that was a hard hit. I mean, the onboard of Priest was terrifying enough. It looked like he got thrown in the blender and it just bounced him around. But with the impact that Kyle took at Atlanta was so sudden. I was waiting for the onboard of Kyle just bouncing around the seat. I mean, that was a hellacious hit. And
it was insane.
I'm gonna be really honest. I don't like the new Atlanta. Now that it's a super speedway, the first two races were good. Now I
I
kind of wish it would go back to the old style where we're getting back to now where it's sliding around a little. I don't like the pack racing. I kind of liked where we had maybe a cluster going down the backstretch, but I'm not a big fan of this pack racing at Talladega. I feel like they're going entirely too fast on too small of a track. I will say that at first I was definitely against it, and then I saw it and it looked kind of cool. But now we've had what I think last year's both races, maybe the year before, and then we had the one in the spring of this year. I feel like they were pretty decent, but I I feel like we're now dipping back into the old Atlanta where you're slip sliding around off the corners, and now they're going entirely too fast to be doing that. I mean, with this rack and pinion steering, you know, we're now hauling it off into the corner. You get loose, and it's very quick to correct, and you're up into the wall at 180 mile an hour. I kind of like the whole drive it in there and slide it around mentality. I'm not a big fan of the pack racing. Being that close together, somebody gets loose and somebody's going to crushing the fence. You know, I don't know how I feel about it. I like the old Atlanta, but I liked what I saw the last few races. But I don't know. That's going to be NASCAR's decision. I don't know.
uh,
I kind of wish they would just go back to the way it was.
I'm telling
We
you
don't. I
though,
don't
like,
think we need 3 super speedways. I think we only need 2: Talladega
and
and Daytona.
that's the other pet peeve of mine. And I tell you what, I was actually glad to hear Dale Jr. talk about it on the download. Atlanta's not a super speedway. Super speedway was a track that was 2 miles or bigger. Atlanta's only a mile and a half.
Yeah, it's
It
like
is
doing
not
180 mile an hour at Charlotte.
it is not a super speedway. I don't care what they say. Today's day and age, they use terms so loosely with everything that it's ridiculous. Atlanta's not a super speedway.
I mean,
Atlanta is a speedway, and that's it. I
I
don't.
mean, in
I don't care
NASCAR,
what
we
they
only
say.
have what I guess we have 4 or 5 different courses now. We've got the super speedways, we've got the intermediates, we've got the short tracks, we've got the road courses, and now we have Chicago as a street course. I I feel like super speedway, intermediate, and short track are very loosely used along with road course and street course. They're essentially the same thing. But when it comes to the oval wise, when you think of short tracks, I think of New Hampshire. Actually, technically, I don't even really think of New Hampshire because that's not the one that comes to mind. Martinsville and Bristol come to mind, and I guess Dover, but that one was never really it's a short track, but it's not as, what I think of as a short track. Short track, bump and run style, but I guess it kind of is. New Hampshire, I guess, is the same way, but those are the 4 I can rattle off. The intermediates are like your cookie cutter tracks: Texas, Charlotte, Atlanta, you know, ones with the big, weird tri-oval in them, you know.
Yeah,
And then I guess intermediates, I guess, are, falling in there of basically every other oval. You got Kansas, I guess technically Iowa, I guess, is a new short track that will be in there also. But Nashville, I don't. It's called a super speedway. That's got to be an intermediate. There is no way that is considered a super speedway, but it's definitely not a short track.
It's just a regular old speedway. It's not.
Yeah, it. I think they call it super speedway, and I don't like it. It's nowhere close. When you think of super speedways, when you think of pack style drafting, you know, 200 plus mile an hour on a two or 2.5 or more mile track, which there's only two of them. It's Daytona and Talladega. When Auto Club was around, I actually would have considered that as a super speedway because you were moving pretty fast. It wasn't pack style, but it was still, pretty fast racing of super speed. But, it's no longer around, so we're now back down to two. But I
So
feel like the classification of tracks has now become very, very,
vague.
I guess, vague's the best word, I guess, to put for it. Yes, is
But I mean,
a
there's
lot
nothing we can
of
do to
lot
change
of
that.
news with that. Yeah, but if I was an official or a head person in NASCAR, I'd probably get fired for telling them that, hey, I think we need to stop making this pack style race and run it like the same package as Charlotte. This reconfiguration did not work.
So the other announcement is,
I know. I guarantee I know where this is going to go next. Are
go
we
ahead.
about to announce Indy of 2025? 2.0.
Lars is going to try again.
I like I said last year, and I'll say it again for next year, or this past year, and I'll say it again for next year. I think he can win one of the races. There's no way he'll win both. But I do want to bring up the point of Mr. H saying that if it comes down to it, the Coke 600 is more important than the Indy 500. To which I say, I want to see it before I believe you. Because if Kyle Larson is leading that race and he has to leave for Charlotte, I want to see you force that kid out of that car to go to Charlotte over giving up the lead. Because I don't believe you for a minute that you will make him get out of that car if he's leading that race.
Never
But
know.
also realize that if he wins that race, he probably is not making the start of the Cook 600. He has made it abundantly clear that he is loyal to NASCAR. They are a NASCAR team, which makes sense. But before they make the statement of, we will pull Kyle out of Indy to make sure he's there at Charlotte, I want to see them actually put those words into action. Because if this conflict comes up again, I can't see it happening. I cannot see if it were not for that speeding penalty, he probably would have had a great finish. Heck, he might even won, which would have made me eat my own words. He didn't. But you cannot tell me that your superstar NASCAR driver is about to win the Indy 500 and you're going to tell him you have to come down pit road and do a driver swap so you can go make your points championship. I'm pretty sure Hendrick Motorsports would rather have an Indy 500 trophy in their trophy case than another Coke 600 trophy because they've got a ton of them from Jimmy, and obviously they've got one from Jeff, if not more. I do not believe it for a minute that they would not do that publicity and let him run Indy. And if he's late to Charlotte, have somebody else start in the car and have him jump over after. But then again, we'll wait and see. I honestly, I believe he will have a decent finish at Indy if he's given the chance. But if he has to get out of the car for Charlotte, you can forget about it. Honestly, there was these talks about Bowman not going back to Hendrick next year. If they do this to Kyle, I could see Kyle going elsewhere. I could totally see Kyle in 2026 leaving Hendrick because they screwed him out of a chance to win the Indy 500.
I
That
don't
would
think that'll
blow
happen.
my mind that they would do that. But, if they prove me wrong, I could see this flipping out, going very badly for Hendrick.
Now Harvick brought those rumors back up about Bowman the other day, though.
And Hendrick
Say,
confirmed that he's not
yeah,
He's
saying
not
that,
going anywhere.
He's
But that's
trying
what I
to.
mean. Is there was the talks of Bowman not racing the 48 in 2025. I could
Yeah,
totally see
possibly.
if they deny Kyle the chance to win the Indy 500 in 2025 by pulling him out early. 2026 could be a year where we have somebody else in the 5 car because he will definitely probably go somewhere to pursue the chance to drive. Because,
Well,
based on what I saw at the Indy qualifying and Indy race, other than that penalty, he was way more productive than I thought he was going to be, which was a little bit intimidating to think that this guy has raced this car at Indy maybe, I don't know, 7 days total, and he's already beating, running better than most champions. I mean, heck, if it had it not been for that pit road strategy at the end and them leaving him out there just to hang it out there for the fun of it, he probably could have won that race with the penalty.
you never know. He probably could have.
And that's what I mean is,
But
had
going,
they not made the call to come down, he was far enough ahead. He probably could have idled it most of the way home.
but since we were on the topic of Atlanta, I couldn't get my, I couldn't get what I wanted to talk about out. But uh,
Sorry.
no, you're good. But that crash though is so. It was so hard, man. That was such a hard hit.
And it
And
was
then
so sudden. Like
once
the
that
jump scare part of it's what got me.
once that car got just a tad bit loose and sideways, that was it. I'm telling you, Nathan, when we have said it over and over again, it is the bottom of the car. There's
I don't
no
even think it was the bottom of the car. In that aspect, it didn't leave the ground, but
the cars don't
Kyle said
create,
something about the tire going down. It looked like he got loose. So unless he felt it going down and reacted,
but
he must have
we've
reacted so fast because I never saw a tire down on that car. Never saw
we
anywhere there was a tire flat.
but I'm just telling you, this car creates downforce only in one direction. There's no downforce from the side of the car if it gets sideways. So there's nothing to hold it to the ground with this stupid belly pan under the car. It needs to go. Somebody is going to get hurt or even killed
I
again.
mean, you're
And
not wrong with that.
we do not need this.
I'm
This
going to
this
say that
car, I'm
I
telling you,
don't
this
know if
car,
the belly fan played a factor in that crash. Yes, at going down the straightaway when you get sideways, yes, it does pick it right up in the air. I'm not so sure that the belly plan played a factor in that crash.
I
There were a
do
lot of teams
because
complaining they were loose, but that's the first time I've seen a car even get remotely sideways. I mean, it wasn't even by much. Like from the angles I saw, it got just the slightest bit out of shape. And he turned the wheel and it went straight into the wall. I mean, he was in the corner. So I don't know if because we've raced Atlanta before with this belly plan, and we've never had an issue of them being that loose.
no, let me put it to you this way. Here's an analogy that I've never heard anyone say, but I was thinking about that earlier, and this belly pan does the same thing that Harry Hogg wanted to do by putting an extra big oil pan under Cole Trickle's car and cut the wind from underneath it. And when you have no openings underneath of that car,
I guess now you mention it, that is kind of that is pretty accurate. I hadn't thought about that one.
but when you have no openings underneath of that car, you have nowhere for air to escape and to get up inside of the car to help hold it to the ground. So
Yeah.
any of that air as they're going through the corners, if they get just a tad bit loose, that's that's going to lift it. It may not make the car flip, but it's still going to help push it up a little bit and lose grip on the back tires. And then if they once they start swerving and getting sideways, that's it. They're done.
See, I
So
don't. I mean, I'm obviously no physicist, but I'm not sure how the air getting up in the car keeps it on the ground. That's what I couldn't quite figure out. If it can get up in, but it can't get back out, that would be what I'd be concerned about. I mean, if it's
it,
smooth, then yeah, it causes lift. At the same time, I'm not so sure about with the big oil pan analogy, like you were saying. I I agree with you. The belly pan needs to go for big tracks like super speed. So maybe
it
you
just
are right
it
with
just
Atlanta,
it just
but
needs to go. Period.
I'm not so sure that I'm still skeptical that that's what caused that car to go sideways. So I can't tell you what caused it to turn like that. If it wasn't, if it wasn't the belly pan, I can't tell you that because I don't even know. But based on the crashes we saw at Michigan and Daytona, I I feel like it's not quite the same. There's something a little different about those. I mean, they were going down the
Okay.
straightaway and the car got sideways. This car was in the corner, making the corner, and it started to step out. And he corrected it, and all of a sudden, it picked. It must either drop back down on the wheels and just hooked. But
Well,
I still feel like there's something odd about that.
I saw a story on here, and I believe it was Logano was actually agreeing with what I was saying, and that's what actually made me bring it up because the race winner even was
Yeah,
agreeing with that. But here's another reason that the damn thing needs to go is look at all these fires. Okay, that
that,
belly pan.
that
Now,
is another
hold
good
up.
point.
That belly pan covers every bit of the bottom of that car, and it holds all that heat in from the exhaust. They've already had to move the exhaust from one side to the other because
Oh, the
it
rubber
was it
buildup.
was too loud, and it was getting too hot underneath the driver's feet, and because it was stupid where they put it in the first place. So, and we still haven't got these fires under control. Look what happened a few races ago.
They had Austin, or not Austin Dillon, Daniel Suarez car caught on fire from the Denny Hamlin backfire. I felt that one was kind of an oddball one, but after seeing the fire, I think it was in Christopher Bell's pit stall. That one was definitely a very odd coincidence. I'm not saying coincidence, but the fact that it is keeping that much heat is definitely a bit concerning. It's almost like we're regressing back to when Kevin Harvick's car just basically spontaneously combusted, build up a rubber, and all of a sudden you've got a massive fire underneath your car.
Okay,
Like
so what?
that is a bit that is definitely a legitimate concern, and I feel like that should be addressed from NASCAR. I feel like the Daniel Suarez Denny Hamlin backfire was kind of just I wouldn't say an odd coincidence, not an odd coincidence. It was kind of like a freak accident. But after seeing the Christopher Bell at Atlanta, that's a little bit more concerning. That is way more concerning. The fact that that much heat is able to do that right there. I mean, that car was the gas can itself was on fire. Like it was coming out the spout where it would have gone into the car. Had they not got that disconnected from the car when it ignited, Christopher Bell's car would have done the same thing that Daniel Suarez's did. Which,
And this,
before I forget, the fact that all three of the drivers from the previous Atlanta finish were up front prior to that last caution baffles me. Kyle Busch hasn't been able to do absolute crap until lately. And at one point, we had Daniel Suarez, we had Ryan Blaney, and Kyle Busch all up front. And then, of course, Logano has to come in and ruin it. I thought for sure we were going to get Atlanta 2.0, and I was getting all excited about it. and then Chastain hit the wall, and Bubba spun, and chaos.
And this, all of this isn't even. Oh, excuse me. Ooh. This
That
isn't
didn't sound
even.
good.
It's not even mentioning the fact that if a fire starts between the floor pan of that car and the belly pan, and you don't know it,
You won't feel it till your feet get hot.
and you have a fire suit on, so that's heat resistant. Like, I mean, there are all kinds of dangers with this car that I do not like. That I do not like this car. This car needs to go, and they need to go back to the Gen 6 car. If they want to stick with a newer style car, then go back to the Gen 6 car. That was actually a decent car. But
I
this
do
next
feel that
gen,
it was better than the next gen car.
at
There
least,
is some things that I would take from the next gen car to put in whatever this next generation car would be. The sequential shifting does make it universal for essentially every driver now, regardless of your background. So I kind of like that.
yeah, I
I'm
don't like
I'm
it.
still on the fence of it, but the fact that the car is three parts, you've got the front clip, you've got the center, basically bathtub, and then the rear clip. I don't like that, even though it makes it efficient. Yet still, drivers are going to get hurt from that. And we saw that with Kurt Busch's accident where he backed into the wall and it was so stiff, ended up giving him a concussion, ended up putting him out of a career.
Well, and it happened with Bowman too.
Yes, that
It
too.
didn't. He got lucky. It didn't end his career, but he was out for quite a while.
Yes. Well, he was also out because of his leg, also. But I I want to say that NASCAR has some progress. At the same time, they've made equal amount of you know slipping. Like they have made some progress. I still am absolutely against these single lug wheels. The teams have gotten better about securing them so we don't have them coming off the car. I still don't like them. I'd rather go back to five lugs. I'm old school NASCAR. I will be that till the day I die.
Yeah.
I'm
Here's the
I
thing:
kind of like
if we're
good.
gonna go back to five lugs, then they have to go back to steel wheels. That's the only reason they went to single lug was because they went to aluminum and they went to alloy wheels like that.
Yeah.
And it
And
is
we
a safe.
see how the wheels look after an accident. They're destroyed.
But it is a safety reason that they went to one lug because if you have five on there, but one comes loose or one gets missed or and it starts to vibrate, those aluminum wheels will fly apart, and that's true.
Yeah. Oh,
So
I
I
don't think we should even go with aluminum wheels, period.
no,
Go
I would
back
like
to
to
the
see that.
go back to the five lug steel wheels and give us some better tires. I mean, you blow a tire, destroying your rear diffuser, which shouldn't even be there, or destroying the splitter, which shouldn't be there. You know,
And look at
basically ending your race
just
before you go any further.
here's a huge step in the right direction when it comes to fixing the tire wearing problem. How like they're not wearing enough or they're wearing too fast. Like what? Go back to the old tire. Go back to the narrow tire. This wide tire, it's not going to wear out as fast because they have so much of a contact patch on the asphalt that it's not funny.
Yeah,
I mean, they didn't have this damn problem until they went to this wide tire. Other than that, the Gen 6 car was essentially
they made it wider, but they also made it thinner, which is making it that much worse.
the Gen 6 car was essentially the same car that we have with just some more added features to it, like the wide tires, the stupid
Yeah,
diffusers on the bottom, and the belly pans on the bottom, and so I don't see what the hell they're waiting for. You could still use your aluminum wheels, narrow them up some. You know,
yeah,
let's make these races more than a one or two pit stop race.
you're not wrong. I mean, we've been preaching this for how long? Get rid of stages, fix the car. I understand NASCAR feels like they've listened to some of us with Bowman Gray and other stuff, But at the same time, NASCAR is going to do whatever they want to do, as they've proven with these charters. What they say essentially goes, and it's sad that
And
it's a
I
power
don't,
thing.
and I understand what Hamlin and them want. They want the charters to become more of a franchise, and they have 100% ownership of them. Which right now NASCAR actually owns all the charters. So these teams, they're paying all this money for them. They don't even own this shit. It's like an HOA. Like
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. But and I can understand that side and where Hamlin and or an RFK, but front row are coming from, and I can agree with that.
yeah,
But to be honest with you, I think the whole damn charter system needs to disappear. I think it's ridiculous because it limits, it may guarantee them a spot, but it limits other teams from being able to afford to even come into NASCAR. I mean, they want to make it. NASCAR came up with this stupid car to make it more affordable. Well, you're not making it more affordable when a charter costs you 30 million, $40 million,
yeah.
and then you not even guaranteed
All
to.
I have to say to the topic of the charters and these cars and everything, in the great words of the Rolling Stones, you can't always get what you want. Just, you know, sometimes you gotta, compromise a little to get what you want. Yes, these charters should go way down, but at the same time, the cost effective car is not making it any more effective. So NASCAR needs to look among themselves to see what they can do. And in Denny's case, you need to compromise a little. If they're going to fix to make the car cheaper, you can't be asking for, more money for doing this. If they're making the cost actually cheaper rather than telling you the car is more cost effective and then it costing 30 to 40 million, just work with what you got. Be thankful for what they're working if that they're going to work with you. If they're actually going to work with you, be thankful for that. You know,
Well, and
don't get greedy. And
here
I feel like Denny is very guilty of doing that lately.
here's
Is
what's going
with
to
this new
happen.
team is he's gotten so cocky about it that it's become greedy.
Here's what's going to happen, in my opinion. This charter deal is going to go through because everybody's just going to, finally just kiss NASCAR's ass. And in 7 years, because they're already taking it from 4 to 3 in this new deal, and then in 7 more years, they're going to take it from 3 to 2. Yeah, they're just going to completely ruin it with this whole charter. It needs to disappear.
Yes.
Charters need to go away, along with the winning you're in shit. If we're going to have the playoffs, okay, fine. Get rid of the winning you're in. It's
Here's and I was thinking about this the other day is when it comes to the winning you're in and the way the points are scored. I don't like the winning you're in. I have never liked that and we've all made that clear on here. I think when it comes to the playoffs, a win should not secure you a spot in the next round. Points should score you to the next round. Say you win one race and DNF the next two. If the other teams have scored more points than you, then, sorry, you're out of luck. I feel like a win should score the same amount of regular season points as, in the playoffs. Say it's you win the race, you get 140 points plus 5 bonus points or whatever. Okay? So you're in the playoffs, you get 145 points, or stage win. You get 5 points for winning the race. So say you win stage one, stage two, and, you win the race. 150 points. You have a chance at what? 150 times 3, 300 or yeah, 450 points per round of the playoffs. You know, if you don't make the playoffs, or if you don't win the win every, all three rounds of, or every all three stages, then obviously you're not going to score, you know, 150 points or whatever it is. I forget how they've scored it now because it's become too crazy. I just go off whatever they say. But why do we win to the next round type of thing? Why don't you just go out and compete every week? Take the calculated risk. You know, if you want to win every week, go out and race every week. Like, say you win the first week, don't sandbag the next 2 weeks. You know,
And
try
what
to compete each week.
and what did I tell you when we were talking about the people that are going to advance to the next round and who's going to be cut? And look what happened. I told you, you were calling me out on saying that Blaney will make it to the final four. Look at what Penske did. They got their guys in and they laid back until the playoffs started. And look at when the playoffs started here at Atlanta, they brought the
They were
heat.
right up front. Yes.
Exactly. They brought the heat.
Yeah.
And that is what absolutely sucks about the playoffs, especially winning you're in. Get you a win, sit back the rest of the season, nothing exciting. It's pretty boring.
You basically gotta, now it's time to prepare for the playoffs. You take
So
all your resources from the regular season, you put them in the playoffs. I see exactly what you mean by that.
now
What
look,
I want to
Logano
see
just won,
is
and now he's going to lay back the next two races, and it's not going to be very exciting because he's automatically going to move on.
I don't know. I feel like the more exciting part, and I know I haven't talked about it yet because I'm gonna save the best part for last of this one. Um, if anybody else saw the strategy of what Denny Hammond played, good for you. You saw him drive like an absolute idiot, or for what I call a chicken. If you're gonna go move on to the next round, go race. Don't ride around the back all week. That was the one week where you probably could have done decent and scored some points. Now you're gonna go into Watkins Glen and Bristol. The only reason you have a win at Bristol is because you race against Matt DiBenedetto. You
Man,
know,
you really don't care for Denny very well, do you?
quite honestly, if he keeps on the pace he's going, he'll be out by the round of 16, and I won't ever have to talk about him the rest of the series. If he's out by the round of 16, it just made the playoffs that much more enjoyable for me because now I don't have to hear about 1 for 18. No, you're going to be 1 for 19. You're going to be 0 for 19 if you keep it up. Go right around at the back at Atlanta, or not Atlanta, at Watkins Glen, and then try to pull some rabbit out of your butt for Bristol and watch your ass get wrecked. I cannot stand Denny. I think that was the dumbest move on his part ever, and I applaud him. It's going to finally come back around and bite him for thinking he's actually going to win a championship by doing his way.
Man, he's going to be the
Even
next
Chris
Mark Martin.
Gabehart got on him mid-race. They're going to wreck. Well, they've been wrecking for the last how many laps? Get up there. I applaud Chris Gabehart for that because, man, you have to talk some sort of common sense to that guy. Because if not, he is going to be a lunatic for the rest of his career and will be nothing but, a choke.
So we got about 10 minutes left. Let me get
I know you need to get your dirt stuff in.
my little bit of dirt that I have. It's not. It'll take me probably 2 minutes to even read it all to you, but I actually wrote out wrote it out nicely for a change. So I'll just read it. It's basically scripted for me, but so over the weekend, Port Royal and the high limit sprint cars brought some thrilling action to the Tuscarora 50 weekend.
I heard we had what, a good race and one camera, paid the price, paid the ultimate
So
sacrifice.
Brad Sweet ended his long winless streak with a sensational victory. The
Ooh,
competition was fierce.
ooh,
The competition
ooh.
was fierce with Rico Abreu and Anthony Macri starting at the front row, and Sweet managed to overtake him and clinch the top spot with just 8 laps left. So, oh man, can you imagine 8 laps left and you know, oh, I think I got it, and boom, here comes Sweet just to rob it from you. But Sweet hasn't
That's
won, dude.
that
Sweet has
that has
not
to
won a
be the
race.
ultimate. That has to leave the ultimate bad taste in your mouth when Brad Sweet, who, in my opinion, really has done absolutely nothing this year,
Well,
manages to beat you
This was Sweet's first win
all
at
year.
at Port Royal since 2015, and his first win anywhere since May 16th this season.
Yeah, he went a bit of a dry streak.
So
I mean, depends on what you call a dry streak. He's gotten more fights than he has with wins.
he definitely seemed in victory lane like he had a weight lifted off his shoulders. Like he was just finally relieved to getting that stress off of his back.
Yeah,
So, as much as I don't care for Brad Sweet, I'm not a huge Brad Sweet fan. Congratulations to him. I know that it sucks to go on those long losing streaks like that, man. Whether you're finished second or you finish dead last, you don't care because it's not the actual win, and it
second
sucks.
second place is the first loser, as they've always told me. So I
But
I can understand the dry streak thing.
I always tried to stay positive with it though, and say, when people would tell me that,
Mine's coming. Yeah,
you know what, I'd rather be the first loser than the last loser because it pays more. So,
that's true. That's true.
and I just, man, I don't know. It was crazy, but just to see the relief in that guy's face it was good. And also through the weekend there were some heart-stopping crashes, but the resilience of the drivers was truly impressive. Rico, in particular, stood out, picking up his second big paycheck in as many weeks. So in 2 weeks, this guy has picked up two huge paychecks.
And
And
I want to give a shout out to Corey Day. That has to be the most epic camera shot I have ever seen. Like, I've seen cars come close to the guardrail, but come close to hitting the camera. I don't think I've ever seen the camera look up at you as it's getting hit. That might have been, even though it was a spectacular crash, that might have been one of the coolest videos I think I've ever seen of a crash. Is you see him hit the corner, get up, hit the wall, get up on the guardrail, and slide around into the camera, like almost like in slow motion, like it's coming, and then it finally hits. So I'm glad that Corey Day is okay, but I want to thank him for giving us probably one of the coolest videos I think I've ever seen of a catch fence crash, because that was kind of cool to watch. Just
so
watching how it came into the corner. I mean, it sucks that it was lap one, I think it was,
so that
but
puts,
that
you
was
know,
crazy.
despite all the challenges of the weekend for Rico, including the rubbered up racetrack, which was
The picture of
ridiculous.
his tire was nuts. There was
Yeah,
nothing left of it.
that racetrack was ridiculous, man. Rubber when it comes to rubber, but they actually showed incredible performance gains, and it actually moved them up in the standings. So that's good. I'm glad to see that for Rico. I've always been a huge fan of Rico. The guy knows how to drive a race car. I'm gonna tell you what.
Yeah.
It. I don't think I've ever
I'm
seen anyone.
expecting it to be a little bit of the same when it comes to this weekend, because we haven't had a whole lot of rain out here the last few days. So I'm wondering if we're going to have a rubber down track
And
this weekend.
it also depends on if they're putting anything
Yeah.
into or onto the track to help hold it together, any kind of a surface prep other
Yeah.
than water. I know there are a lot of things out there, new things like, stay wet and all kinds of other crap that they've come up with, and also the old school ways of just dumping calcium on the track.
Yeah.
So that's also going to play a factor. I don't know. I'm not saying they do that. I don't know how they prep the racetrack personally.
Yeah.
So I'm just
As
saying
far as I
that
can tell, it's just water at Lernerville. But I am very curious to see how this race goes because I know when it came to last year's, we had a good amount of moisture prior to the race. I mean, obviously we had Brad Sweet setting the new track record last year because it had literally just rained, just prior to the event. Like we weren't sure if we were going to have the event. Now I'm not so sure that, as far as I can tell, there is no moisture in the forecast or within the past few days other than, the dew on the ground the morning of the race. I mean, the forecast should be amazing for this weekend. So I'm kind of
yep.
curious to see
You
how this track is going to handle
so
racing.
as we look ahead to our weekend and the upcoming weekend for the High Limit Series, they go to Lernerville for a 2-day show this week, and that should be an exciting weekend of racing because the weather is looking excellent. I'm
And
excited.
will be in Watkins Glen also. So
I'm
there's a chance
excited.
Kyle will show up.
I'm excited to do this show. We're actually kind of stepping out of our comfort zone, doing something that we've never done before. Unfortunately, we have to do it at the parking lot
Which is,
or
we
wherever,
can work with that.
but that's fine. I don't care. It's going to be cool. It's going to be something new for all of us, including our audience. So we'll see what we can do. See what we can come up with. The fans, if anyone watching and you want to stop by, maybe chat a little bit, hit us up. Uh, you can always send us an email, fan mail, anything you want. Send it to switchingrooves@gmail.com. And we love to hear from you. Leave us a comment below. You
And make
know,
sure you stay tuned and watch us on YouTube. What else do we have? We have what, X. Uh,
X I can't go live on yet,
we'll get there.
but we do have X. So we're on X, YouTube, and Facebook. Everything. This whole show started on Facebook. We just got it onto YouTube. I've just
And
never
someday we'll
been,
go from there.
so hopefully, but anyway, to finish out my dirt news, man, uh, out of California, the Outlaws West Coast Swing is in full force. Buddy Kofoid clinched his second back-to-back victory in Stockton on Friday, beating out Shane Golobic. Despite the issues earlier this year with the reprofiled Stockton dirt, it seemed to race quite well on Friday, and it showed significant improvements since the NARC show in the spring. The Tom Tartan Classic in Hanford, Carson Macedo dominated, leading from the pole and finishing first. So, boom, there you go. I mean, he had it in the bag as soon as the race started. And second was Sheldon Hounsfield, and third, Buddy Kofoid. So, although there was actually some hope for Macedo to challenge for the Outlaw Championship out west the last couple of weeks, there's not a huge improvement seen yet. So Macedo did lose some ground on Friday, but uh, his win at the Classic actually helped him make up some of the ground. But I don't think it's going to be enough. With two more races left in Bakersfield and Mercer this week, Gravel currently leads Macedo by 110 points, and he leads Donnie Schatz by 134. So we'll see if he can make up any more ground, but I have to say that this one's in the bag, and it's going to be gravel again. I hate to say it, but yeah, it's probably over with because the season is just about over with. So unfortunately for them, I don't think there's a chance. And the last little bit, just something quick here. Sprint car racing around the country. I shouldn't say sprint car, open wheel racing around the country. Brady Bacon took home 10 grand to win with the USAC at Texarkana Speedway. He's still trying to catch Logan Seavey for the title with 7 races left. Danny Sams had a clean sweep during the IRA weekend, and Cap Henry claimed the championship with a win for the AFCS series. So that'll wrap it up for my dirt crap, if that's
And
what you want to call it.
one more thing for NASCAR is this weekend won Pablo Montoya. Yes, the one and only will be back at Watkins Glen this weekend driving the 50 car. And yes, that was a Juan Pablo joke for anybody who didn't catch that. Because it only takes one person to it only takes one person to destroy a jet dryer. Yeah, that joke will never die.
I think the original joke was how many people
drivers does it take to destroy a jet dryer? Just one.
Only one.
Yep.
But he's lucky he didn't catch fire in that, man.
I even though it was a horrifying crash, knowing that he's okay makes it that much more fun to make the jokes because it was such an off-the-wall, bizarre moment. I mean, it's going to live in NASCAR infamy forever now. That, it only took one driver to destroy a jet dryer and basically flip the script on NASCAR's track drying procedures, I guess we'll call it.
So that's going to do it for this episode, guys. Don't forget to like, follow, share, and subscribe to our channels on Facebook, X, and YouTube.
And if you happen to be at Lernerville Speedway, make sure you stop out and say hi.
Exactly. I was just gonna say that. So check us out at Lernerville if you're going to be in the area. Stop by, get your 15 seconds of fame, and have some fun.
I'll bring Sharpies if I have to. I'll sign people's shirts for them. I'll bring Sharpies.
I usually carry one with me, just for whatever reason.
There we go then.
I've always carried a pen and a marker around for some dumb reason. So, hey, stop by, have some fun with us tonight. So, what do you say, Nate?
All right. Well, I guess we're going to wrap it up. So, for Switchin Grooves, I'm Nathan Johns.
And I'm Russ Fritz saying race hard, stay safe, and we'll see you there. Good night, everyone.
Bye, guys.